Virginia, and our school district, 6th grade is still in the elementary school. So a lot of these techniques are things that we use in our elementary school, as well as our middle school and high school teachers. So I think it can apply to everybody. But thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited. This is actually today my 30th presentation. So I was so lucky in the Mason program to be able to connect with my professor, Dr. Borup, and he's done a lot of presentations and he always invites me along to do them with him. And so I'm just really excited. Math is my baby. I love math, and it was always my focus to take technology into my math classroom to be able to better enhance lessons. So I hope to share some really great ideas with you today that you guys will be able to take away and start using. So throughout this whole presentation, I put it for you on edit. So you can go ahead and you can use this link and you can come into the presentation because I'm going to have you engage and do a couple of different things. So I'm going to just put it right here in the chat for you. And there's a parking lot on slide 117. I don't expect you to remember that, but just in case like a question comes up and you're not comfortable asking it right now, or you want to wait until the very end, if you go to slide 117, it's just a place for you to just grab a text box and you can just write your question and we can address it at the very end. So if you would like to do that, you're welcome to do that, or just write it down on paper. It's just a nice way to remember. So you can, all of the templates that I'm going to be using too, I have a copy of them for you at the very end of the slideshow presentation. So that way, if you like them and you feel like it's something that you would like to use in your classroom, you're welcome to use them. So don't worry about writing on them or deleting stuff because we'll use them. So the very first thing I thought I would like to do to get to know you guys a little bit is to do a Jamboard. So I don't know if you guys have used them before. I know I've heard they use a lot of Google products, so you probably have, but I'll just give you I'll give you the link here. But to use a Jamboard, you can just use any of these tools over here, and there's multiple pages. So if you click on the arrow at the top, it'll take you to another page that's set up. So if you run out of room on the first page, you can insert a picture. You can just put a text box. I'm just kind of curious about what are you proud of? What are you so excited about? It could be school related, not school related. And I put a picture in there. I tell my kids all the time, every day, I'm so proud of their growth and everything that they have accomplished this year because we just jumped kind of in and we've been learning and growing together. So it should be on where you guys have editing access. Are you able to use it? Okay, good. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. So if you haven't used Jamboard, there's lots of templates that are available online, and I'll add the link. I didn't put it in there, but I am using a couple of free templates that I found over online that my students love using. It's a nice little quick temperature check with them. Having survived online learning this far, I concur. I'm just checking to see if there's any other ones. I think that it is definitely a big feat to be able to survive. I think about back to my first day set up in my living room to where I am today. You guys are in my guest bedroom with a whiteboard on my guest bedroom wall. Never thought I'd be saying that. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Hopefully you guys are collaborating, continuing to create things, seeing all the growth of our students, growth of our teachers. I love rejuvenating my teaching, absolutely. What is an RV teacher? What does that mean? It says I'm proud of how well. Go ahead.
Just Rocky. Oh. Go ahead, Jason.
Rocky View.
I got it. It took me a second. Thank you. Yeah. Pushing boundaries. Yep. I tell our students all the time, it's where the growth happens. Stepping outside of our comfort zone. I learned that the most when I was in school, that just be a student again, that I didn't step out of my comfort zone that as much as I should be. I realized when I did, all the awesome things happen. Great. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing that with me. It's exciting, to see how far we've come since this all has kind of been sprung upon us. So I just wanted to ask you guys this question. So I'm gonna leave it open. Hopefully you can see the whole thing, because when I use Google Slide Deck in my classroom, we normally put things like above and around the slides. So at the very top, these are stars that I kind of cloned and stacked for you. So you can drag it and drop it into using the Farrell scale. So hopefully we're all familiar with Will Ferrell. So just indicate, how are you feeling about virtual learning? So you can see him, right, crying, drinking his glass of wine, to feeling, more and more confident, all the way to, Elf, so excited. So you can drag your star. Where do you feel you are? I think if I asked you guys all back, like right last March, we probably would have been in the green box. So this is so refreshing, right? Looks like a lot of you are feeling comfortable. Nobody's crying with a bottle of wine anymore. That's good. So I like the star in the middle. I think that's probably I'm feeling more and more comfortable and confident as we go on. And as we have created routines, it's good. This year has gotten so much more smooth. All right, well, thank you. So on the next slide, I'm also going to ask you to you double click in a box, and then I just want you to you can change the font, you can change the color, you can change the size. I let my students customize however they want. You could even change the color of the box background. But if you could just throw your name in there, and then just, what does engagement mean to you when you think of the word engagement? So in my classroom, when I use a structure like this, I number all of the boxes, and my students have numbers in the classroom, so they know it's always predictable. You go to box 1 if your number is 1, or I have a template where I've created their names in it as well. So sometimes I have a Google slide deck of templates where I'll just shop from those and put those into my lessons. So everybody has a spot to feel like their voice is heard. And then they can customize it and make it whatever they would like. I like that, Jason. Humans big and small, being attentive, connecting. Yeah, so Daryl, you said interacting with one another and the teacher. So it's really important for students to just not interact with us, to interact with each other and to interact with the content. So that's a big part of what personalized and blended learning is interacting with all the different components in a virtual way, and when we're in the classroom in a face-to-face way. Sharing ideas with each other, feeling comfortable, motivated, right? Wanting to be there, excited about class, excited about the activities that they're doing. Things are genuine. Awesome. So one thing that I do, and I realized I didn't put this here for you as well, is if you give your students, if they do something like this, it's not a Pear Deck, it's just a Google slide. I do use Pear Deck sometimes, but I've kind of gotten away from that because it takes a while for all the students to sign on, and I'm like, who's missing? And so I just use so it's just a regular Google slide deck with some templates. So normally I'll give the kids like these little smiley faces on the left-hand side of the slide. So this is actual text, it's not a picture, so it's not gonna work as well. I have them as clone pictures where students can drag smiley faces or heart faces or whatever different options you give, and they can drop them onto each other's ideas. So when they're sharing their like math content or stuff that is really cool, and you want people, it's fun when somebody says your name and recognizes your words. So when students do that for each other, they really like doing that too. So you can put interactive elements on the left-hand side of your slide and let them, move it into the thing. So you guys have great answers. So engagement is, if we want to think about these 3 core things. So how is learning engaging? So taking learning, right, and we want to make the shift for students to have the ability to engage 3 ways. We want to think behaviorally, hands-on, emotionally, hearts-on, and cognitively, minds-on. And I put a little note here in the bottom for you, since you guys are going to keep this presentation, since I didn't have all those words on there, down here to just remind you. So behavioral, hands-on, emotional, hearts-on, and cognitive. So ideally what we want to have is when we're thinking about lessons, we would like to engage in all 3 of these things: behavior, emotion, and cognitive. So back in March, right, when we were all kind of forced to teach online, it wasn't something that some of us maybe were comfortable with and some of us not. These 2 images basically represent, so these are instruments that are similar, right? They both have strings. We both play them kind of in a similar way. I guess if it's a bass, you pluck it, a guitar, you pluck it, you can tune them the same way, but it takes different skill sets. And it's just like learning online, right? Teaching online. It's not exactly the same as teaching in the classroom. There's some similarities, but it's different. So if you look at this picture, it's about, this person who's playing this super expensive instrument. A $5,000 instrument, $180,000, and $1 million instrument. And it was a Twitter post, and the guy says, "Give them all to me and I'll make them sound like $10 cellos." So it doesn't matter what the technology is necessarily that we have. It's not that the more expensive we have to have this special technology in order to have cool, engaging lessons. It's about how we use the technology. So there's lots of different choices and things that we can use, like Pear Deck or Google Slides. They don't necessarily change the learning. It's how we use the technology to interact with our students. So this is also an image right here. If you look at the drawing, there's a lot of YouTube videos of, day 1 and somebody learning something, and in a month's time, how much they've changed. And I kind of think about what you guys are saying in the beginning, how far we've come and all the stuff that we've learned. That the good news is that even though it's 2 different instruments, teaching online and teaching in person, is that we're really quick learners, and there's a lot of similarities that if we're able to be successful in it. So the big takeaway is that it's not about the technology. That's what's most important. It's the ability of how we're going to interact with our students, with our hands-on, hearts-on, and minds-on, to be able to interact with the technology. So this is just a funny little video. I don't know if you guys have seen it before, but it's kind of like what remote learning felt like for me back in March. I'm not sure about you. I'll play you a little clip of it.
Some people like to climb mountains. I like to build planes in the air.
I grew up wanting to be on a wing, wanting to be up this high.
Sometimes the temperature up at altitude will be 60 below. It's brisk, it's refreshing.
You never know what you're gonna come.
So the idea, you can watch the whole thing, it's funny, but the idea is that, right, that's what it felt like in March as we were doing this emergency learning online, but that's not what online learning is, and that's not what online teaching is. And our goal through this is to learn some different engaging activities and ways to engage students to make it feel like we're not building that airplane in, the middle of the sky. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the PIC-RAT model before. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, or the SAMR. There's a couple of different acronyms out there about different ways to use technology. So I'm just focusing on half of the PIC-RAT in today's presentation to talk about the different ways that we would behaviorally, hands-on, have students engage with the different activities that you have planned. So I do have some images throughout of the PIC-RAT, and if you Google the PIC-RAT too, you'll come up with different videos that'll show you a little bit more about it. But so for the PIC-RAT model, it's about the PIC part of it is about the students' interaction, and the RAT side of it is about what we're doing with the activities that we're designing. So the PIC side focuses on the student, or how are they interacting? Are they interacting passively? Are they interactive with technology, or are they creating? So when you think of PIC, it's like what you guys are doing right now when you're just listening to me. You're passive, versus on a slide earlier, you were interacting with me. So passive might just be listening or reading or watching a video. But interacting is when maybe you should have a shared Google slide deck and students are working together, or you're interacting with the teacher. Students are working together in a way where they're interacting. They're not just sitting there passive learners anymore. And then creating is, obviously like making taking a concept and turning it into a video, or making a script, or publishing a blog, right? It's taking the assignment and they're able to do something and create something with technology that they couldn't have done without it before. So it's starting to engage those portrait of a graduate skills, or the 4 C's. I'm not sure what we use that term a lot in Fairfax County, like collaborator, communicator, critical, creative thinker, global thinker. We call them portrait of a graduate skills. But that comes in a lot when you start to get into that creative section of the PICRET. So all of these are important. It's totally fine and okay for students to be passive with learning, but we also want to make sure, are we dipping our toes into interactive? Are we also going into creative? It can be really daunting to live in the creative level of PICRET, because that can be a lot for students. So we just want to be able to be mindful that when we're designing our lessons that we're kind of all over and around this. But we want to make sure that when we're learning, we want to think about being and designing, so we are touching all 3 of these. So you always want to ask your question in the content that you're creating for your students: are their hearts on or their minds on? Is it something that they are excited about? You guys were saying that the engagement is students being excited to be there and to learn. And if the answer is no to that, then it's probably just something that's busy work, that maybe like a worksheet having them do, which I do as well, that it's okay. But if we're not giving them opportunities to have their hearts on and minds on, then we're not going to be engaging them. So on slide 18, again, I have a template down here so you can use this. This is a great thing to use in math as well, with number lines. But you can have students type their name in it as well. I wasn't going to have you do that today, but you can just pick an arrow and drag it and drop it. It's a good way to take attendance, at the beginning of class, or you can have all the students' names and have them engage in some kind of opener. But so the question just is virtual learning, or can it be engaging and fun? And hopefully you guys all think yes. All right, good. So you all agree. So it's a journey. It's something that I think, over time and through collaboration, we can get there. Oh no, so sorry. Hopefully I'm not lagging for everybody. Okay, so what I'm going to do this first activity with you, we're going to do a breakout room. So I want you to think about what we just talked about, the basic information about what makes learning engaging, that we have hands-on, hearts-on, and minds-on. And I'm going to put you in a breakout room in a second, and you're going to, depending on what room you're in. So if you wind up, I think in Zoom, do they call it like group 1 or something like that? They have numbers with them. Okay, so if you wind up being in group 1, then you click on this. It's hyperlinked, but you could probably figure it out. It's the first slide that follows. And then group 2 is hyperlinked. It's going to take you to slide 22, the second group. So I'm sure you can figure that out. But I have this as a template as well, because I set up my slides with students so that way there's no confusion and they know exactly where to go. When you're on your slide with your group, you're just going to have a quick conversation. I don't think we need a full 10 minutes, but I just put this in here as well for you, as I put timers on my slides. I think that a timer is included in Zoom. Is that right? Because I think I don't have a timer in BBCU. Okay, so we don't have that feature. So I'll give videos and I'll tell the kids to start their time. Or another thing I'll do is I'll just paste in here. I'll look at the time we start. I'll write the time we're going to finish so that they know we're going to come back together. So I won't do that with you guys today, but I was thinking that maybe like 6-7 minutes would be enough time to do it. I don't think we need the full 10. So you're just going to pick, if you're in a group of 4, you're just going to pick a box. So one person will take partner A, and somebody will take partner B, and somebody will take C, and somebody will take D. And the directions are down here at the bottom. So it's a think, pair, share, a Kagan activity. So you're going to just think about what are ways that that you could improve engagement in your classroom, or an activity maybe that you recently have done, or think about a lesson coming up. What is one that you're interested in focusing on? And maybe, do you have any ideas that come to mind yet of ways that you can make it engaging? So you're going to do that without talking. You're just going to type in your box. And then you're going to pair. So you guys are going to talk as a group, share your ideas and learn from each other. Maybe somebody that you're in a group with has a really cool idea. And then finally, you're going to do share. So if you click on this right here on your slide, it's linked to a different Jamboard with a new template called JotSpot. And I show you with this picture just how to do a sticky note, but you guys were all pros at that, so you don't need my directions. Any questions before we start the breakout group?
Okay, I'm gonna make 6 rooms, so it should work out, which means Chrissy will probably be thrown into a room too. So
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
Perfect. All right, so everything should be open.
Perfect. Thank you.
And they're going. Awesome. Hey, Trixie, are you there? Hey, oh, you're muted. I'm just going to, do you want me to pop you into a breakout room or do you want?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
You bet. I will put you in breakout room.
Thanks, Alicia.
Yeah. Okay. Did I? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So actually, before you go, here is the slideshow that everyone is working in.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
excuse, shall we say.
Was that enough time? Did you guys get to share? Did I bring you back too fast, Kelly?
One person didn't get a chance to share
Oh, okay.
in our group.
Okay. Hopefully it was enough time.
Well, and I think I clicked on the button to come out maybe just quickly. So maybe the other person, who is it? Aaron, maybe Aaron had a chance to share. I don't know.
Was that, Tammy, was that enough time for your group?
Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I'm sorry, Aaron, if you didn't get a chance to share. Do you want to share now?
I feel like as I was typing it and pondering it, I kind of like came up with what I was gonna do. So I appreciate it, but thank you.
Well, thank you guys. So this structure could be used in your math classroom. If you gave like a word problem and the kids could work it out, they could kind of come up with do their own thinking. They can agree on an answer, and then you can have them take that answer and bring it to like a jot thought. So you could use this structure in a couple of different ways. So this is just one way in opening up a conversation about engagement. So hopefully you got some ideas, or maybe we're able to talk things out. My goal is that as I go through the rest of this presentation, that maybe it'll give you some ideas of things that you could do or use in your virtual classroom. So when thinking about math, a lot of people will ask, like, well, what's the structure you use, or what is it what's the magical way to teach math, right? And it's different for everybody. It depends on your teacher, depends on your students, depends on the environment, the atmosphere. So there's not really a one size fits all model. We could do a station rotation model where students are in a group and then they're doing an activity, they're working together. You could do a flipped classroom where you're recording videos and the kids are watching it and learning with you. Or you could just take little bits and pieces of everything. So there's lots of different structures, but I'm going to go through these green slides that you're going to see throughout of just overall areas to consider in your math classroom to create engagement, things that we can focus on. So the first area I want to talk about is just creating routines in our math classroom to help create engagement with students. So welcoming, it looked a little different in Zoom because I couldn't see you guys, your names pop up. So I don't know if I just had something closed, but normally when my kids come in the room, I see their name pop up. So just kind of starting that class with a welcome, letting them know that you see them and you hear them and you're excited to be with them. It gets my students excited to welcome each other when we start a class, and we have like a quick conversation before class gets started. So it's just a nice way to kind of announce in this virtual environment that you see them. So I linked for you a couple of different things. I don't know if you've explored any of these resources, but so one thing that I do to start up my math classroom is we always do a warm up. So it could be some spiral review questions, or it could be one of these activities like a would you rather, which doesn't belong. I put it's estimation, mysteries, splat, and same but different. All of these are good for all the way down from like kindergarten up through high school. So there's lots of different resources here that you can use to create problem solving with students and getting them engaged and having conversations together. So this is just one example of a warm up. It says, which would you rather have Cheez-Its to cover a rectangle with a length of 9 and a perimeter of 22, or a length of 5 and a perimeter of 20? And the students there'd be a template that would follow this, where the students have a place where they can write their answers. So we're going to do one of those in a little bit. So another thing for creating routines that's helpful is thinking ahead. So I plan my groups. I just took my student names out of this, but this is my rotation model in my virtual classroom. So all the students will come to me for about 10 minutes each. And when they're not with me on my website that I have built, the students will we have this program called ST Math that they're supposed to do for 20 minutes a day. That was provided by the county. So that takes up some of their time. They do independent work that I leave for them, and then they work with me for 10. And sometimes I have other resources on there. So if they're quick finishers, they have other opportunities. But I also group it so that way those green boxes and pink boxes, I chunk them together. So when there's a partner activity, I want them to partner within their group. So that way when it's time to come to teacher, they are all together. You know what I mean? So I pair them ahead of time. I don't let them choose their partners, especially in this virtual. If they're going to choose their partners, it has to be done like ahead of time in a kind of neat and orderly way. So having small groups, it allows for more student-focused engagement. We're able to, we're just having this conversation in our breakout room, but the students, you're able to, as a teacher, see the mistakes happening quicker, and the students are able to ask you because they might be shy in this environment with so many people. So it allows for differentiation as needed. It creates small learning communities that gives comfort to students, and it gives everybody this equal voice in the classroom because they might be more comfortable to interact. And then the students are also getting FaceTime with you throughout the day. So I'm not exactly sure how it's structured, but so I have an hour of math every day where my students will come to me and we do a live synchronous session. So in whatever we do, it's important to have clear directions. And I definitely learned this, I think, as being a student, again, when I was getting my master's, is how important I think that I'm communicating clearly as a teacher. And then when I was a student, I was like, what is the teacher saying? I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. And it made me really analyze my practice and my math classroom. How am I giving directions? Are they clear? And can the kids understand it? So it's just a little funny thing to show you how important clear directions are.
Close your eyes and just fall down, okay? Don't worry.
Okay, then Lauren's gonna catch you.
Close your eyes.
Okay, it's called the trust fall. Okay, trust fall. Ready, set, go.
So giving clear directions, right, is important. She thought she gave great directions and nobody would have thought she would have fallen forward, but she did. So we would just want to think about, I always try to design through the eyes of my students. So my website, I'm going to just give you a quick tour, but my website you won't be able to access because it's under the firewall for Fairfax County. But if you do click on this on your own later and you wanted to see it again, I have recorded a video going over my homeroom website and what my math website looks like. So that would be a way that you'd be able to see it on your own in the future. But I am going to just show you really quickly what my math website looks like. So my students, we have 9 units throughout the year. And before we had virtual learning, my website was organized totally differently. I organize everything by unit and by concept. But now what I do is I have a unit and the landing page is always their goals, what they're going to accomplish. And I give them a learning targets page. So I tell them if they scroll down, they have this in their digital notebooks. So the students have, these are the concepts that they have to learn. And I have them continually come back to this and ask themselves to rate themselves. Do they understand? And they use this rating scale above from 1 to 5, almost never to almost always. And this helps them give targeted goals of, well, I really understand these 4 concepts, but this is the one thing I don't understand. So this is in their digital notebook and they have access to that throughout the unit. So every time I do an exit ticket, they're supposed to come back to it and kind of rate themselves. Okay, wait, how did I do on that? Do I need to practice more? So then underneath the unit, so this current unit that we just did was, I think, 6 weeks. So I have everything organized by the week. So if they click on the heading for the week, they just have a quick overview of what they're going to be learning on that day. And then underneath that is all of the days of the week that we learn together. So I'll just pick a random one. Every day is set up the same way. So the kids always come in, they have a warm up. And then they have the lesson. So there's a video of me giving the lesson, and then they have what we would have done, like some practice problems that we would work through. Then the kids have whole group activities that they work through. They have independent stuff they work through, and then they have some additional resources that are at the bottom. So every day, this consistency, this was like a sort activity that they did. Sometimes it's whole group work, sometimes it's teacher small group, and sometimes it's independent. I'll put them in a breakout room. Like today, they were in a breakout room doing a half-year review. So this predictability has helped the kids be ready for class every day because they can expect what's happening. So this is just everything I just said, but I put it in a letter format for parents because I want to make sure that I'm clear with parents as well, and they understand that this is what to expect and this is where students can find stuff. So when they're telling you like they don't know, there's a video, they can watch it, or they don't have the information, well, it's in their notebook, here's a link to it. So they know what the structure of my classroom looks like. And I just took screenshots and sent it to them in a letter.
Chrissy.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just on your slide and was trying to hit the link to the website and I'm getting a 404 error. So I'm just wondering.
It won't work for you because it's under my Fairfax County firewall. So if you click here on this instead, I recorded a YouTube video for you guys. I'm going to show you my site and so you could see it that way, but you won't be able to see it without me. I'm sorry.
No, no worries.
All right, so so I want to talk a little bit about the importance of having video in the classroom.
We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image.
That's not the way you're supposed to do it, Dad. They want us to do it.
I don't know that way. Why would they change math? Math is math.
It's okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
I'll just wait for Mom to get back.
What? Well, she won't understand it any better than I do.
So I don't know about you all, but I constantly hear, I'm a mom, I'm a math teacher, and I have an 8th grader, and he would tell me all the time, well, that's not how my teacher does it. I'm like, I teach math, like I know how to do it. And he's like, no, that's not how Miss Talbot did it. I'm like, ugh. And my parents tell me all the time when they come in for a conference that they try to help their kids with homework and they say the same thing. And for the past 4 years, what I've been doing is I started recording my lessons and recording, not the whole lesson, I just record like what I call it is the meat and potatoes. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I give these video directions, and then so the kids can't say that anymore because they have me explicitly telling them this is exactly how you do it. And then they can watch that at home. So my parents tell me that they watch the videos with the kids and they love it. So it just down here in the bottom, it just says a video doesn't replace the need for a teacher, right? We still need to interact with our students, but just the fact that we're there doesn't mean that we are replacing the need for a video, right? Videos are important. It creates like a virtual me. I'm constantly telling the kids, like, go listen to virtual me, go listen to the video me and learn the lesson and learn the common mistakes in the video. And it's freeing them up to be able to then have conversations with me after they've learned the content. So my students will normally watch that information on their own, and then they'll come to me and we'll practice it and we'll put it into practice. So, and all of these, I stuck videos in here if you want to see, like, it's not Emmy worthy, but it's a video of me kind of going over, this was an async lesson. So I told them everything they wanted them to do. Answers were included in the video. I think it's like maybe 10, 12 minutes. And the kids would watch it and then they'd pause it. They'd do an activity, they'd unpause and check. So that's one kind of video that I made. So my students, I give them digital notebooks. They have a hard time, and even, thinking of my son, he just asked me the other day, he's doing something with slope and he's like, I'm not sure what to do. I said, well, where's your notebook? Or what resources, what do you have to look at? He said, I don't have anything. Like, what do you mean you have anything? He had nothing. So you got to write notes, like you got to put stuff down. So I create these digital notebooks. This is just a Google slide deck and all of the notes. So I just took a screenshot of our current notebook. Everything, my writing, their writing, I make it interactive for them so they can drag and drop and fill in stuff. So I gave you on the next slide, this is the video that I watched to learn how to create a digital notebook. So, and if you watch the video, she gives you the template to her free notebook, but there's so many other ones available online for free as well. So that might not be the one that works for you. But there's many different templates, but I take the time before every unit starts and I just kind of take my notes and I put it all into a digital notebook since they don't have paper, right? And I don't know if kids have printers or have access to all of that. So I like to take my videos and plop them in my notebook, and all of the notes that I would have given them in class, I'm giving to them in the digital notebook. And we link this in our Google Classroom so the kids can open it every day. They have their own personal copy of it.
I have a question, actually.
Sure.
Do you find when you create those, when there's too much inside of them, they don't load well and they're glitchy?
That hasn't been an issue, but I don't think, this is probably my beefiest notebook because this was our longest unit. So that hasn't been an issue. I think if they got to be like the length of this presentation, they've had issues, but my students haven't reported that to me yet. Fingers crossed, watch, like Tuesday morning, they're gonna be like, Mrs. McLaughlin, my notebook won't load. I'll let you know.
I tried to do that and it was really laggy and slow, and they were like, this isn't, and I was like, oh, okay, scrap that, we're not doing that anymore. But I really loved that idea. So maybe, I don't know, I had stuff in there that was too much. I don't know. I'll take a look at it then.
Okay. So, well, I hope it'll work for you. Some things, like I'm going to show you stickers later if I just got to speed up my talking, and those are laggy for me because it's a lot of I don't know the technical computer word, but it takes a lot to load, it's a lot of information. So that one's laggy for me, but normally not my notebooks. So another routine that's really important, especially in this virtual environment, is teaching our kids like those routines, right? So if they're stuck, don't email me right away. I love you. I want to answer your questions, but I can't answer all of your questions and all of your parents' questions and plan and small group and do your grades, you know? So I train my kids, we're going to go through this process. You're going to ask 3, then me. So text your friends, ask your mom and dad, talk to somebody else in class, Google it, do some problem solving on your own. I think that was one of the things you guys said, kids are being autonomous, they're learning a lot on their own. And then finally email me, you know, and I'm happy to answer your question, but we want to make sure that we're kind of going through this process. This is just stinking hysterical, but I'm going to show you super fast.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
So it's like a whole 2 minutes, if you can believe it's a whole 2 minutes. Feel free to watch it. But he starts yelling, help, help, they're stuck, they can't move, they don't know what to do, the escalator stopped working. And I feel like that's our students sometimes, right? Like they just get stuck and they're like, I don't know how to do it. Like, but what did you ask somebody? Did you look it up? Did you use your resources? You know, what have you done on your own before you come and ask me? So we want to just do as much as we can to teach our students to be independent problem-solving thinkers. So the next area that's important to think about with your math classroom is identifying essential content. So this one's a short one. I don't know what it's like. So my county has done this for us, but they've taken the standard. So for for this unit that I just currently did, these are the standards that I was going to emphasize. And these are the standards that the county told me I can de-emphasize. I don't need to spend as much time on. With only 4 hours of math a week and an asynchronous time, we don't have the same time we have face-to-face. So we relook at our unit and we look at our standards and we ask ourselves, like, we always had peppered in extension standards or Fairfax County standards that weren't state standards. So we've really looked at it to see, well, what can I focus on? Where does most of my time need to be spent? And what are the things that I can just maybe dabble in? So if you haven't done that, I would suggest looking through your standard to see what are some of the things that are okay to cut. And once you've done that, have fun with the lessons you're making. So these are just 2 little videos. I use like Snapchat filters or Instagram or whatever, and I create silly videos for them. And I just used one today because one of the girls said to me, when we're doing negative exponents, she said, "Is a negative exponent equal a negative number?" I was like, no, remember this video. And I sent it to her again. She laughed.
Did you know that negative exponents don't actually equal negative numbers? Whoa, you're gonna learn all about it in this lesson.
So they like, oh, sorry, we don't need to hear it again. They remember that. They remember their teacher being silly, and then, well, except for the girl who asked me today. And then they remember that, you know, the rule that it's important that negative exponents, right, they're not really negative numbers, they're just really small numbers. And this was one I did to introduce, we were doing real numbers. So it was an activity to kick off doing their real numbers.
There's so many different kinds of numbers, guys. 1, 2, 3, 3,000. I can go all the way up to infinity. How many different numbers can you think of?
So, oh no, stop it. So they just love when I make a fool out of myself, and they love these little things, and it helps create engagement and excitement about the activities that we're going to do. So this is the full pick rat model, so not just the pick, but if you Google it, it'll go more into it. I don't have enough time to get into it today, but we really want to kind of be in this amplifying and transforming area with our students. We want to take, instead of just replacing, instead of just doing a worksheet or just doing problems, how can we engage and connect with our students to help take their learning a step up into the creating territory and into the transforming territory. So this next section is about creating content to deliver asynchronously. Our time is limited, right? So we want students to be able to, what can they do when we're not there? What can they do with the digital you? So this is just a screenshot of my Google Classroom. I'm not sure what LMS you guys use, but just maybe consider, how is it organized? I organize everything by the week, so that way they know, and I put this little siren next to the current week, so they know, hey, this is the one we're gonna focus on. We're starting Q3 next week. So next week when I post week 19, I'm gonna put a Q3 next to it, so they know this is the start of the 3rd quarter. So nothing below it you need to worry about. I put check marks and X's when things are current, and when things are old, don't worry about this anymore. If it's notes that you need to take. So I use, and I linked it here, I use Emojipedia. I just copy and paste emojis. I put it into my emails too, like I'm Target, and so parents will read my emails. So I try to be like, hey, like pay attention to me. So I use emojis like in a lot of stuff just for attention grabbing. So this is just a screenshot of somebody else's website. It's laid out similar to my math one. And these are all made in Google Sites too, by the way. So it's free and it's connected with all of our Google stuff. But all the lessons are laid out, and then it's literally just says, do this, watch this, read this, review this, here's your assessment. So you just have to go through each one of these things, and they're explicitly like laid out with the directions, so it's easy for students. Here's somebody's Google Classroom, same thing. Here's the whole thing, this lesson 9 through 12 Oreo method playlist. This is overall directions to watch, and then this is like the activity that you do. So he built his assignment so that the kids just walk through this, 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 and this. I've recorded videos for my parents as well, showing them a student view of what Google Classroom looks like. Again, whatever LMS you have, to give them little tips and tricks of how to find things and what's missing. So I've already said this before, but the meat and potatoes on my website that I showed you, I tell my kids, this is the meat and potatoes. This is the standard you need to know. This is how you do it. So all this other activities and things we're going to do in group work and partner work and games, cool. But this is what you're going to like look back and study on. So these videos that I create for the students, and I put this one in YouTube so you can see it. I try to keep them like, normally they're around like 5-6 minutes. This one's a little bit longer.
Hey, boys and girls, the goal for today's lesson is to be able to set up proportions in word problems.
So I just record, I go through.
Read this word problem below, and we're going to set up a word.
And show them how to do it. They write their notes in their notebook. I tell them, use your digital notebook, use paper, use a real notebook. I don't care. And then eventually, like I'll pause it and I'll tell them, hey, you guys solve it and unpause it, and I want you to watch it and check. And then I'll talk them through the problem, because a lot of times I'm not available to have these independent conversations. So giving them these videos, and I made this video 4 years ago. I haven't had to touch it since, right? So I'm working on updating my website as I go for virtual learning, adding things, making stuff more virtual. But once you have it, it's awesome, because it's something the kids can look back on. I make my own videos for exit tickets. So all my kids did an exit ticket, didn't go well, recorded a video, a couple of minutes. I have a tablet that I use to write on. And then I email all the students the video and I say, watch this, and then make a comment. What did you learn? What is that mistake that you made? So I know that they're interacting and engaging with it. This is, we participate in Continental Math League. It's a super challenging 5 questions. It used to take me a whole hour of class to go over it. And the same kid was like, what? Repeat that step. I don't get it. I don't understand. Where one kid was like sleeping on his desk. So I started creating these videos, and they watch this again on their own. They watch it with their parents. They go through the whole thing. So again, I think I put that one in YouTube for you. I did. Not that I don't think anybody wants to listen to me talk about math for 12 minutes, but you can just see examples of different ways that I give this to my students, and I watch them. Like when we used to be in the classroom, they used to go to certain minutes and watch it over and over again. Or I would say, hey, watch through minute 10 and then come talk to me and tell me if you still have a question. So if we do all of these things, if we set up asynchronous learning through websites, clear directions, whatever LMS you're using, creating videos and content for students, what does that do for you while you're together, your time together? They're able to collaborate with peers because they're ready for learning. They're able to practice right away, correct any mistakes that they've made in the previous assessments and things that they've done. And they're able to work with you in small groups. So it helps free up time when you have these asynchronous methods. So I know that might be a little touchy, because I know we have some like middle school, high school teachers. So I don't know what the homework practice is, but maybe instead of calling it homework, there's theories out there to call it practice, give them more buy-in, or just eliminating it altogether. Currently this year, I assign no homework because of our async learning. But just something there's a quote from a math and econ teacher. Assess students not on their first draft of homework or their final product, but on their revisions and the reflections. Let them see the final solutions, then focus on assess and incentivize the revision process. This is something I wholeheartedly believe in my classroom. It's about mastery. You fail a test, okay, well, let's look at our mistakes and let's learn from them, and then I'll reassess you, or I'll look at your reflections. So this is what I have included for you. These are the actual slides, so you can copy and paste them. Feel free to use them if you want. My students all get a slide deck as soon as their test is over. And the directions are here. I have to actually take this link out because I would have to replace this link if you're interested in the paper copy, because it links to my Fairfax County and I didn't realize that was still in there, so I'm sorry. But what they do is they have to fill this out, either print off the paper copy or do it on the computer. So they write down their score. So they get their score from their online assessment that they've taken. And then what do they do well? What do they need to work on? And then this template shows them, you're going to put the question you got wrong, you're going to put your new answer that you think it is now, and then you're going to take a picture and insert your work, or you're going to describe, or you're going to type out your work, what your new answer is. So they do that. I have a whole bunch of blank slides, and then they fill in all the slides that they need. They turn in their corrections, and then I correct their corrections. So I'm looking at, what did you learn? What mistakes did you see? Did you see a trend in the mistakes that you made? How are you going to fix that in the future? So we talk about this. And then this is what helps grow their grade. So maybe they got like a 1 or a 2. We don't give A, B, C, D. They get 1 as the lowest. By doing these corrections and showing me you have an understanding, they're able to grow their grade to something higher, because it's about mastery. It's about the journey, and not always just like, every assessment point. So another thing that you could do just to practice instead of homework is doing the commonly mistakes. So this is some student work, and we're solving inequalities. You forgot to flip the sign. So we look at this and we analyze it. If students are uncomfortable sharing their work, then you can do the problem wrong yourself and share it with the kids and have them analyze it and be a teacher. Every time they make a mistake, I'm like, that's amazing, because this is a really great conversation. Why did you do that? And let's talk about it. And we learn from each other, and they love being able to have those conversations in my math classroom. All right, 3:30, we got this. So collaboration. So we've done a few collaborative activities before. This is an example of a warm-up. So, and I also think that I completely forgot to, hold on one second, don't touch anything. Let me see if I can, I think I forgot to make these all, come to the top. So give me a second. So what you're gonna do is you look at, this is a which does not belong. And you are going to grab one of the red circles and you drag them. Hopefully it doesn't go behind. That's what I was looking at right now. I was trying to move them all to the front. But if it does go behind something, then I'm sorry. And it's my fault, and I'll fix it in the template. But you just drag it and you drop it to one of the pictures. So let's see, does it work? Yeah, you just move it into like the place where you think this is the one that doesn't belong. And then what you do is you come to a blank slide. So if you have a really large class, you just duplicate the slide. But you come to slide 61 or 62, pick any box, drop your name in it, what's the letter, and what's your reasoning. This is again too where you could put smiley faces if you want. As a teacher, what I do is I'll hang out, I'll click on like Jason's box here, and then I'll put a comment and I'll say like, great thinking. Hey, guess what just died? My mouse. Okay. Oh, I have a backup. It happens to me all the time. All right, so there. So I'll just put like a little comment on them to tell them like, oh, I really love that, or that's genius. I never thought of that. Or during live session, I'll just call out their names and I'll just say like, Carol, like that's an amazing idea. I didn't think of it that way. Do you want to share with everybody? So it's a way to, again, to give equal voice to everybody in the classroom, because in this virtual environment, I don't know about you, but I have a couple of people who don't raise their hand or just shy. They don't want to be on camera. So this allows everybody to talk. And it also gives me really good information. I can follow up with an email if I'm seeing there's like not an understanding, so it's just fun. So the website I gave you above has a ton of these, and they go up into high school concepts. So you can just I just snag pictures of them and throw this on the slide as a template. And I just continually use this template over and over again. So, well, I'm going to go to the next one because of time. This is just a screenshot, but this is one of the breakout room tasks that I have students collaborate on. So that we played the game Concentration. I set up the background of the slides of cards that we would have normally done in the classroom, but we just made it digital, covered it up with these little images, and then we gave some rules. So the kids would click on a box and they would delete it, click on another box, delete it. If it's not a match, they would hit Control Z, and it would be back. And once they did make a match, they pulled their marker onto their cards to show that they made a match. And the kids just played this independently while I was in a small group with other kids. And then when it was time for that group to come to me, I would say, just pause your game and then come on over. So sometimes somebody asks, like, if it's laggy, what I do is I give them a forced copy. I just give them the link. Do you guys know if you delete the back end of the link to the backslash and you type the word copy, that when the students click on it, it tells them to create their own copy. So that's a workaround sometimes, is to have them have their own copy to work off of. But so students will do that, they'll share with each other, and then they play the game. And I normally use 2 different computers, so I'm able to pop in sometimes just to see how things are going, or I watch the chat to see if they have a question while I'm working with small group. So this is an activity. So this was pre-COVID, but this is something that my students, they're making videos now, and they're just sending it to each other. So they wouldn't be next to each other, but this is just a newscast project. So we were working on integers, and they had to create news stories around integers. What are stories around like negative numbers, and they created context to it. The day that we did this, the kids were so excited. They came in fully dressed up. They had their props. They recorded their video. They tied it together, and it was amazing. They love sharing it in class. So they could still do this in a virtual way. You know, the kids are still collaborating, but each person would create their piece of the video, and they just tie them together. So they've had fun still continuing to do things like this. So this project was let me see what account it's in. Okay, so this one's in my Fairfax County account, so I'll show you, but this was a trifold. So the students just they worked together, and the idea was they had to create a pocket guide for tax tip and discount, because everybody has trouble figuring out what the tax is or how to create a tip. So they did their hints, their introduction, they gave the math, they did a little comic about it. They did this all completely together virtually, and then they created a video. So the idea was that somebody could just scan a QR code, and then they can watch the video. So if they wanted to get a quick refresher on tax and tip, they could do the video. So the kids are creating content, you know, they have a purpose. They're creating this for other people to use, and it helps extend their learning. All right, so this was a collaborative activity that students did in the class. They worked together, I put them in a breakout room. They had to figure out the pattern. Basically, their goal was, tell me, why is anything raised to the 0 power always 1? And so I wanted to see if they can discover that pattern on their own, that when you go up in exponents, you're multiplying, when you go down, you're dividing. So they collaborated together, and then they turned in this document, and then I created this video just to explain to them, just in case, because I wasn't able to get in every breakout room. So just in case they couldn't, I gave them
I just wanted to
a
really
4-minute video.
This for you, so 10, so the reciprocal.
Just kind of recording it instead of doing it on my tablet. I just did a reel, you know, threw me in it, so the kids could watch it and make sure they got the understanding of the lesson. So anecdotal notes, right, are really important to do when we're collaborating, making sure that we're taking notes at this time, because we can use this for another section I talk about is testing, right? Instead of always, we have formative, summative, the kids could do exit tickets, and our anecdotal notes are really important. This is a tool that you could use if you want. It has stuff from, again, pre-COVID, but it can be modified. So all of these things are different ways to have students collaborate. If you click on each thing, you have to open it. But I think if you click on each thing, it's going to take you to a different resource of, you know, different collaboration roles, ways to group students, what collaboration is, mentor text you could use. The only thing that won't open for you guys is this one with the asterisks, because this is a Fairfax County resource. Again, that's behind firewall, so it's only employees can see that one. But all these other ones are ones that you could use and you can modify in your classroom to think about different ways to have students collaborating together. So feel free to explore that one as well. So we use a lot of Flipgrid in the classroom too. I don't know if you guys have used that before, but my students like to create videos. So one thing I do is I'll say, when we're starting a new unit, so these are the vocabulary words, record a video. Show me the vocabulary in real life. Where do you see it? So this was a video, again, no math, so it's pre-COVID, but I took out my phone, I used the app, and we were talking about unit rate. So I recorded this to show them where I found unit rate. Oh. So I found some more unit rate guides. Isn't that cool? If you go to the deli, you can see how much everything costs per pound. So if you buy some deli meat, which I think we did we have some in the cart?
So you can see we bought some. I know it's backwards.
And then like earlier is in the cereal aisle.
Weight, if I take 250 and I divide it by 18, it comes out to around 14.
I showed them comparing like name brand to non-name brand. I just had to get over myself. It was hard. I like looked around to see if anybody was watching, and then I took out my phone to record. And the same thing at the deli. I probably look like a crazy woman, but it was cute. The kids loved it. They love coming along with their teacher and seeing that we like actually live and go out into public and don't just live under our desks, you know, so they like participating. So I always make sure that when I create a Flipgrid for them, that I'm a participant in it with them as well, and I'm responding to them, and I just show them that I'm there. All right, so because of time, I think that, let me see. I think that I might skip this one, and maybe I'll just explain it to you because I'm worried about running out, since I know we go until, well, 4 o'clock for me. So I'll just explain it to you, but this is another breakout room that I would give to my students. I gave you the resource. If you come below the breakout room to slide 83, this links out to Open Middle Math, and it has different resources for different grade levels. And that's where I got this slide from. It was already created. So you can click on and open up your own slide deck for if it goes to your grade. I even give things under my grade because it's really great conversation. So this is an example of an activity. The kids would go in a room, they would have this thing to problem solve, they would work together. And I used this structure this time. I just filled it in and I said, hey guys, I want you to come up together with as many possible solutions as you can. So they would type in this box or insert images of all the solutions that they came up with. And then I wanted them to have a strategy conversation, like what problem solving strategies did you use? What was really helpful to you? What what process was important? And then as a teacher, what I do is I change the view to my Google slide deck to this, and you can zoom in or zoom out. And so I'll focus on my students and I can see, like if you guys move around and you put, like if somebody goes to slide 74 and somebody's on slide 78, 77, 76, I can watch where my students are and I can see where they're typing as they're typing. So I'll keep it on this view and then I'll pop into the breakout room and I'll say, oh, let's rethink that. Or I'll drop a smiley face on it. And I take notes. So then when we all come back together, like, oh, let's talk about what Jason's group wrote. That was a really cool idea. How did you do that? And we would have math discourse in our classroom. So let me just reorient myself. I feel like I'm going really fast, but hopefully you guys are okay. I put the chat away too. Oh, goodness me.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I think we've been getting questions and I directed a couple people to the parking lot and I am also recording this. So
okay.
If people are like, what did she say? They can go back and look. So.
Okay, thank you. So feedback is a really important area. And again, I tell you, like being a student in my master's program a couple of years ago, I would be so excited to do my project. I put so much effort into it. And I'd be waiting for my professor to email me back because it was unlike any online course I'd ever taken before. It was so personal. He would record screen videos looking at my work. And then I'd watch this video and I'd be like, hey, husband, come look at this. I'm like, hey, daughter, come look. My professor said something really great. So I was like, this is amazing. I need to do this for my students as well. So when we give feedback, it's important to consider that feedback is really important, specific feedback. Again, another little funny. This is from the show Friends.
1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Eh, blue, blah, flu, flank.
Good job.
Thank you.
So he was told good job, right? Did he do a good job? No, he butchered it. He didn't get any of those things right. So if we as teachers are just writing good job, good job, good job, good job, or smiley face on their work, they're not going to get, constructive feedback from us. So we want to consider when we give our feedback. These are just two different models. It's glow and grow, praise, question, polish. You guys might have something else that you call it. But we try to use the structure in the classroom. And not only do they want to get feedback from me, like they also, like this says, it wants to get feedback from peers. So we talk about being a critic versus a critical friend, right? We don't want to cut down or tear apart somebody, make somebody sad. We want to be constructive, build up, and give specific pointed feedback. So this is a feedback form that you're welcome to use, and students would type in it. You can modify it for online. This is one that we would use in the classroom. The kids would do it and we'd give mail. So kids would cut it up, their score on a sheet, and they would deliver it in the classroom to give feedback to each other. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Voicethread, but it's like a PowerPoint presentation. So we have it purchased for us from the county, but basically it's like a PowerPoint where you record yourself over it. So this one was feedback. So the kids created this website, and the kids had to come in here and they had to leave feedback to each other. So basically one of the kids all left feedback for each other. And this is the kid in the end who, this was his project. So he was so excited to hear the feedback.
I just wanted to say thanks, not only for the positive comments, but for the constructive criticism. That actually really, really helps. And especially people like Keller and Hayne, I think
So the kids were so excited because they wanted to hear what their peers thought. And so all of these were suggestions. What the kids said, I think you did well on your project, and this is what I think you could work on. So they were like checking this out every day because they were so excited and proud of what they did. I took some screenshots of feedback that I've given in Google Classroom. I know I'm a little cray-cray, but like I write a lot to the kids. So I'll tell them like this was a mistake that you made, or be careful, or don't forget this. And I link them. For this thing in particular, I recorded a video because there was a common mistake that was always coming up. So I linked it and all the kids could watch the video. And so I try to give specific feedback to them. Like this kid took a test. He was so upset. He failed it. He didn't want to come to remediation. I wound up remediating with him. I gave him this message. He said he felt so much better because he really appreciated that. I wasn't focusing on the fact that he failed. I was focusing on the fact that he understood the mistakes that he made and we're able to correct them together. So it helped him feel a bit more confident. So these are just teacher feedback videos as well. So this was recorded, this video, a student emailed me, she had a problem with one question. I took out my phone, I recorded myself solving it, and I gave it just to her. This was to a group of students who, needed to have more of an understanding. There's a Chrome plugin called Moat, so you could use that, or there's a website called Bakaru. Let's see if this loads. It's been taking a while. So you come here, you would just push the record button, you record your voice, and then when you're done recording, it gives you a URL. So it's just taking a while to load. It doesn't normally do this. It's just because this one was from last year that I recorded. But you just copy this and you paste it, and the kids then hear your voice. So instead of typing like you did a great job, these girls last year put together this amazing video, and I wanted them to hear me excited, instead of read it. So I'll come back and look to see if it loads in a second. But Moat is also nice because you can do this right in Google Classroom, but I think you don't use that. But
yeah, our elementary teachers do, and our middle school teachers, there is a voice recording built into their platform.
Perfect, awesome. So something else that I do for the kids is I provide keys. I take a screenshot. I use Google Slide Decks a lot. So I'll take a screenshot and then I have that on my desktop ready to go. So when I start seeing common mistakes, I just drag it and drop it. So it lands on their work. So here's just an example. This is back here, I labeled it. This is the student's work. This was their slide and this was their answers. And then I put the image of the key here for them. And I told them in here, hey, check out the key. And this image, this student and I talked back and forth a little bit in Google Classroom. But I give that to them so they can self-assess and they can check, because in a slide deck, it can be really hard sometimes. If you change the text, they never know what they did wrong. So I encourage my kids all the time, and I'll say it in classroom, like, thank you so much for, responding to me, or I really love that you turned that back in and you fix your mistakes. And then all the other kids will be like, oh, should I do that? Yep, that's how we learn. Let me take a look. No, still loading, whatever. All right. Stickers. I put virtual stickers on things. I just emailed a kid today because she went above and beyond, and I gave her a virtual sticker. And I put this, I drag and drop it right onto the Google slide deck. So this slide in particular is filled with some goodies for you. So I got this idea originally from Esther Park. She's an educator in my area. And so she has a tutorial. If you click on this, it's how to make these digital stickers. And then if you click on this one, it's a slide deck. I added a few of my own 2 cents into here, but it also has the templates for you. So if you guys, this took me like a whole Saturday it was so fun, but it's a lot of time. But all the directions are here if you want to make your own GIF or GIF stickers. And I just copy and paste this right on their work, or I stick it in an email and they love it. The first kid I sent this to, he ran around his house and the parents emailed me that he was so excited to get it. And I know it might be a little corny for older kids, but I think that they would I know that my kids would love it. And then these are just regular stickers, not digital. So it's forcing a copy. So if you click on it, it'll give you a copy of it. but those are just, I made them in PowerPoint. So you can just design them in PowerPoint or on my Mac Keynote, and I stick those on all their work a lot. But this is the one that takes a lot to load because it's filled with a lot of stuff. So in any way that you give feedback, there's so many different tools that you could use. There's lots of plugins. Great that you have voice feedback, but I would say recording your screen is really cool for the kids, or considering some way to give them feedback. But we don't just want to give them feedback. We want them to give us feedback. So it's important to ask your kids, how's it going? How is this designed? Are you confused? Could I make something better? And you can have these conversations with them. The first couple of times I asked my kids for feedback, they were like, wait, you want me to tell you like what's wrong? I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to be upset. I want to know because this is all about you. And I see things differently than you see things. I think that I'm amazing and everything that I've designed is amazing and fantastic, but it's not, you know, like what can I improve for you? So you can create like simple Google Forms like this, and you can just have it on your website, or you can ask the kids to fill it out every once in a while. Ask parents too, like what's working and what's not working, because my feelings are not hurt. I need to be the best teacher I can be for you. And I want to know what works. And sometimes I'm going to say like, thanks, but I'm going to keep it that way. And here's why. But the fact that they know that their voice is being heard and they're part of their classroom is really important for us, I think, to grow. Another thing that I do is every Wednesday we have a midweek check-in. So my students all fill out this Google form. This is just an image of it. You can recreate one yourself. It's pretty simple. And I just ask them, hey, how's it going in all the subject areas? And what questions do you have for me specifically? And do you need to meet with me? And like anything else you want to let me know? And every Wednesday I look at this Google form and I scan through it. If nobody has a question, I'm like, okay, good. And if they have a question, I open up email and I respond to them real quick. Or I'll just say, thanks so much for filling this out. I really appreciate it. Because sometimes we're hearing their voice for the first time this way because, like I said, they're not comfortable always in a virtual platform. So it's just good in data too. When I talk to parents, be like, look, Sally said she gets it and she feels comfortable. So, you know, maybe like it's good information to have. So Rethinking Assessments. This is a project-based learning that I created for my students. These are my own kids years ago. My kids we were pretending they were opening up a kids-only movie theater, and they had to survey the community to see what were the types of things that they would want to stock in the concession stands. Then they had to display those graphs. It was a graphing unit, and they had to pretend that they were presenting their information to the movie planning board. So the kids recorded videos and they put their graphs together. They did like scatter plots and all these different box and whisker plots. So this was just like an opening video to catch their attention. So again, you can watch it if you'd like to. These are just some screenshots. I use exit tickets. So I just create quick Google Forms that assess themselves right away. So the kids get the data right away. I also have exit tickets. This is the actual exit ticket. I didn't put a screenshot in here just so I can show you the side. So I'll put this as a background. This is typable. I make it highlighted already so it stands out. I give them any directions they need. This is how you make an exponent, or here's how you put in a text box, or I think I had another slide somewhere with other stuff. So they would just write right on this. This was a drag and drop. I took screenshots of the things so they can just drag them and put them where they want. So when I am grading their exit ticket, super easy, right? This is another exit ticket, creating a box and whisker plot. I built this in a Google Draw. The kids had everything they needed, so they could, oh, this is a screenshot, sorry. They could just drag these, they can move the box, they could put their line in, and then they could put their whiskers on, and they could resize it. And then I had them answer here, so they can interact, you know, and I'm a little structured, so I don't wanna go looking for your answers. I'm gonna tell you where to put your answers. This was an activity we recently did. So we were solving equations. This is an old worksheet that we would have had, but it was like a fun one. So the kids would do a problem, and then when they got the answer, they'd find the box and they'd create that drawing. So these are cloned triangles, yeah, rectangles. These are cloned triangles, and they would just drag them up and they would recreate the image. So they have this really cool picture in the end. So the kids would just use those. So I've been learning how to, you know, I guess use Google Slides in a way to still do the things that we're doing in class, but just digitizing everything. This was a project. So remember to think, you know, formative and summative. Remember, replacement's okay, but we just don't always want to live in replacement. So this is just replacement, our summative assessment. So the kids just had to do multiple choice, but here's a formative assessment. They had to create a proportions poster that I would hang in my room, and they had to have a video, and they had to have an interactive, and they had to link to a game, and they had to have the Frere model, what it is, what it's not, you know, the definition, symbolism. So they all created these and they shared them out. I love this one and I have to show you. There's two more super cute ones. I'm almost done. So this was a video created by a student when we were learning about transformations, and she made this 100% on her own at home. Right, I think I cried when I saw that. When I've realized as being a teacher that when I break the mold and I don't tell them what to do, I just tell them these are the things I want you to do, create, I get the coolest things from them. So this is one more that I was going to show you. So this was a Flipgrid, and this kid used Flipgrid in a way I've never seen Flipgrid used before, but it was the same concept. Pick a vocabulary word, show me your understanding of it. So he wanted to show his understanding of quadrilaterals.
Where's the quadrilaterals? Got them right here. Quadrilateral. You're joking, right? What? I got your quadrilaterals.
They're triangles.
These are not quadrilaterals. These are triangles. Aren't they the same thing? No, this is a triangle. This is a quadrilateral. Okay, I got your quadrilateral. This is a quadrilateral. Look, this is the one you gave me. This is the one I brought. They're the same thing. Oops. Listen, quadrilateral is a shape with 4 sides and it's closed. It also has 4 angles. Jeez. Okay, I got scissors. Let me give you your quadrilateral. Look, 4 sides, 4 angles, and it's closed. Happy? And then he says it does have 4 sides and 4 angles and it is closed. It also counts as a quadrilateral. That all quadrilaterals are rectangles or squares. Gee, that guy did not know anything about shapes. He took my wallet.
This kid is a character, and he loved having the audience, you know, and the kids love, they can see how many hours, how many interactions, the kids can respond to each other now in Flipgrid. So I just have a space for you. If you just pick a spot in the next 3 slides, thank you, Liam. You can just, and this is where I would normally put the student's name ahead of time because I like organization, but you can just pick one. And I'm just asking you, were you inspired by anything? Is there a takeaway? Is there something that you might consider trying in your classroom? So if you guys could just respond on those 3 slides, just pick a spot.
And I'm just gonna jump in just for our own Rocky View data. You guys are gonna do double the homework. I'm gonna pop a Jamboard in the chat just so that I can look back on that too. It's just an I like, I wonder, and next steps. Sorry guys, but I will cross-reference.
And I'll see if I can answer some of these questions while you guys are writing. But so Google Slides, we've done it where we've had our whole grade level on the slide deck. It starts to jam up when we had 100. So we would split them up sometimes and just do by class. But I've not had a problem at all with 30. And the same thing with Jamboard, I've been able to have over 30 people on them. I think if we started to get too big, like this was a perfect group size today. I've done presentations with 400 people. We do not share the slide deck. Like we will give it to everybody at the end in the recording, but this was perfect because we were able to do interactions today, and I'm not always able to do that in presentations. How many students do I meet with at a time? So my groups are, I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I have 4 groups of 7. This is my smallest math group. I've had 35 before. So I normally, and I'm always by myself since I'm the advanced academics teacher, my other teachers get somebody. But so I'll just divide my class into groups of 4. And if I start to have a crunch time, I'll take the last 2 groups and I'll pull them together. And I'll just do the 2 groups at once and then be available for them during our synchronous time if they have any questions. So our schedule in Fairfax County is we're synchronous 4 days a week, and the kids attend basically the entire day, but I have a morning meeting time for about a half hour. We do the news, we talk, we kumbaya, we high five, we say you're amazing. Then we get into language arts for an hour, we do math for an hour. The kids have break, they have lunch, they have specials for a half hour. Then they come back in and then they either have social studies or science for a half hour. And then we have an hour of async time where I'll do small groups. So we have pretty much a full class day. Monday is fully asynchronous. We only meet to do a morning meeting, and then they have all of everything they need to do digitally. And we just take attendance based on their participation in their work. How long did it take to create my site? So I'm a little much, and I know that. So one year I was like, I'm just gonna put 1 unit online. And that year I did all 9 units. So I started and I'm like, I can't stop this. So it took me a while. I would say that my site has grown. I got it all online 1 year, but then over the last 4 years, it just has evolved and changed. And I'm solo. I don't collaborate with anybody because I'm the only Math 7 teacher in my building. If I was able to collaborate with my team, I think it would have been even faster. So inclusive for students with visual impairments. I've had hearing impairments. I haven't had students, for me personally, with visual impairments. So I can't really speak to that. I know that in the classroom, we would just make things bigger. We would teach them how to zoom into things or give them whatever, students who needed to have things on a larger monitor. So the county, I know, provides those types of things for students who have an IEP. And then we do closed captioning for students with hearing impairments. So we'll make sure the closed captioning is on and they also have devices that they plug directly into the computer to communicate with their ear device. So I don't know much more than that. What do you use to make your math learning videos? So I have a Surface. It's just my other computer. So I take the keyboard off. My Surface is a tablet, so it's just like an iPad, but it's like a whole computer in one. So I take all of my lessons that used to be like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Docs, and I'll make it a PDF, and I'll put my PDFs in OneNote. And then I can just write on everything in OneNote, and I'll record my screen. I also have a document camera. So if I didn't have this, I would use probably the school that uses iPads, or I would use my doc camera and record that way, or I use, just plain old whiteboard, but I use my Surface primarily. How do kids hand things in? Everything is through Google Classroom since there's no paper. So everything math-wise, I take anecdotal notes, exit tickets, those Google Slide interactive things, they'll turn in through Google Classroom. Some kids will take pictures if they prefer to do it that way. I give them links if they want to print and prefer to do it that way. They would just get everything to me through Google Classroom. So everything is turned in through that. So yeah, I have a slide deck per activity, and if I'm understanding this last question correctly, I'll just duplicate the slides. So I'll make an activity that might be good for a group of 4, and then I just duplicate them. So I'll just duplicate them, but there'll be a slide deck that I'll create just for that lesson, and I'll put the slide deck on the website so everybody has access to everything. So they all have editing access, and they know where to find it all the time. I think I got all the questions.
So if you were to create your lesson for the day, and then it had multiple activities for them to do and maybe an exit ticket and all that stuff, do you have that as separate thing, like Google Slides, or do you have it all in the same, this is everything you're going to be doing today?
Yeah, I built it into my website. So everything I have what they're going to be doing on the website for the day. So I'll take screenshots of things. I'll put the written directions here of what they're going to do. I give them their small group or their whole group. Everything's here. But if they need to turn it in, I'll make a note to it that it's going to be located. If I'm collecting it, you have to put it in Google Classroom. If they need a copy of it, it's already created for them in Google Classroom. I'll also put things here like this key. If the kids click on this in Google Classroom, I turned off shareable links so they don't have access to it. And then when the activity's over, I'll come in here and then I'll turn the link on, or I'll give them the direct link to it so they can check their own work as well. So I've tried to make sure that I'm thinking ahead so I can keep track of things as the year goes on. So next year, like I have the activity, I have the link, I have the key, I have everything all in one place. So I'm really able to just continue to reuse these things. I'm not having to go through my filing cabinet anymore. You know, like everything's here that I need. And I also create, I mean, this is like a whole nother thing, but I create, when I edit my site, I create hidden pages that are just teacher pages. So I have, my site is huge because I have the old way that I used to do it by unit and then by topic, but I would always put, let me go, like here, teacher resources, this always stays hidden. And this is where I would drop keys and things that I was going to use with the students. So I could always look here. This is not designed well. It's just meant to be a quick, my filing cabinet. So the kids don't ever see that page. You know, like I keep it hidden so I can keep track of my stuff. But everything is built into my Google site, if that answered that question. So I'm happy to continue to answer questions. I know it's 4 o'clock, so I want to respect your time. I just have a few resources here for you, a few extra things if you want to look. I mean, my biggest takeaway, as we talked about at the beginning, is step outside of your comfort zone. So we like to think big, but start small, right? Everything I showed you is a process of what I've been doing over the last 4 or 5 years. So what's something that you can do and you can try in your classroom to help engage your students with hands-on, hearts-on, and minds-on? My professor that I talked about, he has these free resources. This is an entire book on blended learning, free for you with lots of activities linked into it. He created a s'more that is talking about engaging students in real time, video, this is hysterical, but tips for recording videos, and this online teaching mixtape with lots of work samples. This is the program that I took. So it's fully 100% online. It was amazing because I learned stuff and I started using it right away in my classroom. It really inspired me. I know somebody said that to start class was, or to start the PL, was that you guys, you know, were reinvigorating your learning. And this program 100% did it for me. So just to remind you that everything below here are templates. If there's anything that you use and you would like to use, you're welcome to. This section right here, I should just point out, this was a George Mason teacher, Teresa Wills. If you go to her website, I don't know if she still gives them for free, but she gave a lot of free, like Google, she had you fill out a Google form and we did like Saturday courses with her. And so a lot of these templates are hers and some of her ideas. So you can check out that as well. But that is, I know a lot, but that's all I've got.
There was one more question in the chat, just wondering, what program do you use to record your videos?
So I use personally Screencast-O-Matic. It's a free recording tool online, and it gives you 15 minutes of recording. I also, you can see I have plugins up here. So a few of the Google plugins that I use is Screencastify, that gives you 5 minutes of recording. So those are the two that I use, but I mainly use Screencast-O-Matic. You have to, for the first time you do it, you don't need an account. You just have to download something onto your desktop. So I have it downloaded on both computers. So then now every time I record, it just opens up the program. Super easy to use. But I should just say to you, the first time I recorded a video, I wanted to do it 15,000 times. Now, I don't care if my dog comes barreling through and like there's a tornado, I am not re-recording a video. If I made a mistake, it's fine, we're human. It's okay. If my hair's not perfect, it's okay. I put makeup on for you guys today. I never do that anymore. It doesn't matter. So I'm trying to be real in my videos. And if I make a mistake, I'm like, okay, sorry guys. And I make a note of it on my website. So if you do it, just be kind to yourself and just roll with it. I finally opened the chat. It's so different than BBCU. So hopefully, if you guys, I did provide my email too. So if you guys had any other questions, I hope that you guys, you know, found something that you can take away from today. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you so much. And so I know for my grade 8s, if any of you are still here, we have sort of, here, I'm just going to stop recording.